Bart, Shane, welcome again. This was the second day of the first round of the Varsity Cup 2021 at Tuks. But before we start with viewing all the matches and reviewing all the matches, something that stood out for the wrong reasons was the captaincies and the decision making by the teams on the field.
Yeah, definitely, Carl. The idea that we got was that either the teams are totally structured in play, and or their decision making is done from the side. The captains definitely did not lead on the field, either by absence of good decision making or by means of calls from the side, because there were certainly matches lost and won today because of poor decision making. Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Shannon, the first match, it was the Madibas against the Eagles, ne? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the Pucker anymore, it's the Eagles. The Eagles started like a house on fire, and thereafter rather fall flat.
Yeah, no, it was a good game. Big ups to Madibas. They had a good start to the match. Unfortunately, they petered away a bit towards the end. Pucker were always the stronger team, which showed on the scoreboard at the end. But a good first game, and lots to take out of the coaching staff from the Madibas. There's some good players there, and if they string together some good decisions, maybe, and a little bit more mindful on the field, I think they can challenge going forward in the competition. But Pucker again, strong. Let's see what they can do when they're put under pressure by the bigger teams.
But Bart, that's the difference between your top tier teams and your lower tier teams, where Madibas is the lower tier and the Pucker is your top tier, because the replacements, with 20-30 minutes to go, immediately changed the game.
Yes, Carl, I think that evidently showed even in yesterday's matches, and even more so today. We saw that the benches where there were good depth and good players. They don't like to be called bench players anymore, but the matter of the fact is you could clearly see where the better depth swung matches, and in the case of Pucker, that definitely happened. Madibas don't have that depth, and they paid the price.
And players that stood out?
Well, if we look at the first match, I think the centre pairing of Pucker, Conan Lefevre and Lincoln Daniels definitely had a good game together. We actually saw quite a couple of very good centre pairings. This was one of them. And then Andre Fouchier, the 8th man of Pucker, had a very good game. And we were very impressed by Ruben du Plessis, the Lucet prop. That played nearly for 80 minutes, and purely for the reason that he put Madibas under so much pressure that a couple of tries came from very good scrums. We know that the call on the day fell on the hooker Gustav Durant as man of the match, so we want to give him the credit for that. But the reason why we did not go or agree with the panel is purely because his basics in terms of his throw-ins were not that good. There were other hookers definitely on the day that actually did put up their hand. Gustav was not one of them in that respect, although his general game was very good.
Absolutely.
Shane, and players from Madibas that stood out for you?
Look, I have to shout out Tapula at 4 lock, had a fantastic game. He wore the pink shorts from the last game of the season, so big ups to him. Baltina at hooker had a good game. Again, a couple of discrepancies with regards to throwing, but he's a good ball carrier, so ups to him. And then I'd like to bring up the flanks again. 6, Arun Unel had a fantastic game, scored a try, got some crucial steals, so lots of good forward play. And then I think in the back line, shout out to Olifant, he had a good game. But all in all, I think it was the forwards put their hands up in this game. And as we talked about, the forward pack, the scrums, that's where the game sort of showed its head. So good game, and big ups to Medibus for the effort they put in the beginning of the game.
And the Eagles won 47-28.
Yes.
The next game was University of the Western Cape against Shimlas, but almost again a big surprise.
Yes, Carl, I have to say, and I know the purist would probably differ from me, but I was very excited in the rugby that we've seen for probably 60 or 70 minutes. And why I say that was proper student rugby. There were lots of very good skills moments that we saw during the match. Spaces being played very well, kicks into the space, great pressure play by both the teams actually, and initially especially UWC. And then at the end of the game, the old sickness of bad decision making reared its head again, where UWC could have taken 4 kickable penalties. Maybe the first 1 or 2 of them, one could accept that they wanted to go and score the try and put the game beyond, but they could have led at that point. They could have led by 10 points had they kicked one of those penalties, and bad decision making evidently cost them the match. So yes, still a surprise, the draw, with a very strong Free State University side, but UWC will feel that they let that one slip.
Yeah, my impression was that the Shimlas didn't deserve to win and UWC deserved to lose. Because of their decision making and everything, they left so many points. Shane, any players from Shimlas that stood out for you?
Definitely. Pia Ace had a fantastic match, possibly one of the players of the game of the day today. We talked about him possibly being a little bit shorter than the rest of the locks, but he really put his hand up and put his heart on the field. He had a fantastic game. Just to touch on something Bart mentioned, I think he's being very nice. UWC should shot themselves in the foot big time this match. They had many opportunities to win this game, and I don't know what happened. I don't know whose decision it was, but why those points were not taken was shocking, because after the comeback they had and the points they put on the board through some amazing running from their back line, they surely should have won that game, and I don't see why a team doesn't kick the points when they're on offer, especially in front of the post. So they're going to go home feeling disappointed with this draw.
Bart, and other players that stood out for you?
Yes, Shane Bolton, we know as a very good junior player at the Free State. We expected him to play a good match, which he did. 1 or 2 mistakes, but had a very dominating match in the midfield. Like I say, played against 2 very good centres in Conan Lefleur and Lincoln Daniel, so that was a great matchup. Aya Olifant that they played against, but 2 other players that actually stood out, Shabana Shabana is his surname, the 7, had a very high work rate game that impressed us, caught the eye. And then JP Duvenage, the number 22, actually came on.
Yeah.
And partnered with Shane Bolton, and he made a huge difference. Well, he even had a chance. He put up his hand to take the winning kick, which he couldn't convert from the sideline. But he just looks like a player with a lot of confidence, and he made quite a difference in the midfield with Shane Bolton. Even though Shane's partner Janko Klink, the 12, is a very accomplished player. He's a very good centre. But I must say, JP Nieuwenhagen must have put up his hand to start the next game with Shane Bolton.
Absolutely.
And from UWC, Shane?
There's quite a few players that I could name from the UWC team, but I think we can't look any further than Gilroy. Gilroy Lee Falandi had a fantastic game. He's really got wheels. We were talking maybe Paul True should be sending him to the sevens camp because he's definitely got some talent, and the combination with McKeel at 10 was fantastic. A few mistakes from McKeel, but overall he had a fantastic game. So those two definitely. Justin Tace at prop had a fantastic match. He's really a good scrummer. You can be proud of the match he had and the scrums that he put forward. And then I think possibly Godfrey as well at 7 had a fantastic game. Sorry if I don't say his surname correctly. I don't want to make a fool of myself, but he had a great game. All in all, UWC had a lot of players that put their hands up, and they had a good game. Disappointed again to go home with a draw.
But yes, and then the Ikeys, I don't want to call it a surprise, but definitely a surprise the way they overpowered the Marties. We're not used to the Marties getting bullied up front.
Yes, I think the big surprise is we all know that this is a huge derby match. The Cape Town match is always a huge one, and UWC have, or UCT, sorry, Carl, actually they've surprised in the past. They had some surprising results against Marties because it's such a huge derby. But this one being away from home, no spectators, home field advantage or anything of the sort, one sort of expected Marties to do the run-of-the-mill thing, and you mentioned it during the match. We are surprised about the fact that Marties forward pack did not dominate as we used to them doing. UCT bossed them a little bit in some scrums, actually forced some penalties when for a few times in the match, I think we counted, 6 yellow cards during the match. In the few times that we actually had 2 full packs on the field, UCT more than stood their man, and that was a bit of a surprise. So the result, in my mind, definitely a surprise. I feel that Marties would definitely be disappointed. They came close in the end, but I definitely think that UCT did enough to take the win here. As a matter of fact, they could probably, before the end of the match, have had an unassailable lead with a penalty, a difficult penalty that didn't fall. So I just felt they did enough to win this game, and maybe surprising so, yes.
Shane, guys from Marties that stood out?
A difficult match for Marties, like Bart said. UCT dominated, and they didn't play the rugby that they used to. But I think a standout game from Hendrik Lewis at 2. He had a great game through. I don't think he missed a single throw in the line-out. With a game dominated by yellow cards, you'd think it would be at the forward pack again. But David Brits stood up again, had a fantastic game, was very mobile in the back line, had a great game. And then again, Dion Blair from number 1 prop had a great game, and Hannes Goos at 8, really good game. A lot to look forward to in the coming matches from those players.
But from the UCT side, the Ike side, I think the 2 players that you've got on your list is maybe also the top players of the first 2 days.
I would think that they would come close. Carl, James Stedder really bossed this game. He gave a complete performance at 10 today, where he made the right decisions. The decisive, it could have been a decisive try scoring kick right at the end when they had the free kick. Summarized to me the control that he had in the game, where he gave a fantastic up and under from a free kick, and he gathered the ball himself, and he actually put the wing away, who was just because of a high tackle not able to score, which would have been the winning try in any case. So he really played well, standout 10 on the day and over the 2 days for sure, no question about that. And then I was very impressed with Christian Stelik, who over and above the fact that he scored 1 try, also put in a huge game for them at the back at 8, and made big tackles at times when Marties carried the ball, which did happen with all of the UCT pack, but Stelik definitely stood out as a workhorse. He fielded a lot of balls in the line-out, so they use him as a line-out option. Very explosive player. I would like to see him in a higher setup. I have to admit, both of these players, and I have to agree with you, Shane, on Hendrik Lees. What I liked about him is, although he's not the captain, he definitely is a leader of the forward pack. He kept the boys together half time. You could see him really climbing into the boys, and right after half time, it made a difference. It was not his fault that the Marties pack actually wilted at times. He had a very good game. So those are players, and I think you mentioned it, Carl. We actually saw just a little bit of a step up, a higher level kind of game between these two teams that you sort of expect from guys taking good decisions, match-winning decisions at times. Maybe not as exciting as a UWC game, but they played rugby to win, and it was two very strong teams against each other that neutralized each other in a lot of aspects. So yes, it was a top game. It would be very interesting to see them against some of the other top flight teams from here on.
Definitely.
Shane, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think the shortcomings, I see 3 teams being able to win, and that's Ike's number 1, Marties and Tuks very close, but Marties and Tuks has got problems up front. They can't dominate, like if they meet Ike's again, they will again get a hiding because of the shortcomings up front.
Yeah, look, I think we've seen now in the past 2 days that it's all going to come down to the forwards dominating the start of the half, and then who has the stronger pack on the bench. We've seen in all of the games the reserves have made the difference, and I think if we look at the match between Ike's and Marties today, Ike's definitely standing out top of the form charts so far. I'm looking forward to the match against Tuks. It'll definitely come down to the forwards, and whoever can dominate there will distribute to their backs, and hopefully the next game we see a little bit more of a high scoring game. I'd like to see a free-flowing, expansive match between those two top teams. But don't write the Marties off. They'll come back strong in their next match. I believe they've got the first match in round 2 against UWC. So if they can put a strong performance against that team there, I think they have a chance to come back and scare some of the top teams.
Well, I think they're one of the top teams. Final thoughts of the first round, Bart?
Carl, yeah, definitely had better quality rugby today, closely contested in some terms, but also true student rugby when we wanted to see it, a lot more excitement, especially in the Shimla's UWC game. So I'm really looking forward to this first 2 days teams being matched up now and mixed around, so that we see, get the teams together and really be in a position to evaluate their true quality. The benches and the tight 5 will definitely eventually, I think, be the deciding factor, and we would come out trumps in this year's Varsity Cup.
And what's nice, as a final remark, the Medibas, CUT, UWC has all shown that they can be competitive, yes, and that they are going to cause upsets like a UWC did today against the Shimlas.
Absolutely.
But that's the first day or the first round of Varsity Cup 2021, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. Thursday. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.